Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. I'm not sure when or where you're watching this recording, but I hope you're fine. Ian asked me to update you on the WorldCereal project. So that's what I'll try to do in the next 7 minutes. And Ian, I didn't stick to the 5 slides, but I'll try to do it in 7 minutes. So WorldCereal, part of ESA's World Series. There are 6: World Cover, WorldCereal, World Soil, World Ocean Circulation, World Emission, World Water. In my talks, I'll be focusing on World Cover, WorldCereal. I'm not sure in which order Ian is going to show these recordings. I'm also doing one on World Cover, but let's focus on WorldCereal. WorldCereal just kicked off. We kicked off in June. So we're a couple of months in the project. So what's the goal of the project? So it's to develop a robust and efficient EO solution to monitor global crop extent area, so the cropland area. It needs to be used by a wide community of stakeholders from the agricultural sector, so that's why the user engagement is so important. It needs to work at different scales, from regional to global scale, and we need to be able to timely deliver these crop maps, looking at the different dynamics at global scale, of course. So what are the objectives? To demonstrate the feasibility of global cropland mapping at field scale, develop innovative and efficient open source algorithms based on open and free data, so mainly Sentinel-1, Sentinel-2, but also Landsat 8. It needs to build a collaborative approach, so collaborative approach on in situ data, but also on existing initiatives. So build on rather than duplicate stuff, and also disseminate these products in a very transparent manner. We need to build showcases that demonstrate the use of the products to the GeoGlam initiative. I think we are having the right audience for that, and also on SDG reporting. The outcome of the product will be a global annual cropland extent map at 10 meters, updated per season. It shall be distinguished in rain-fed and actively irrigated cropland, and we will focus on within that cropland extent, we will focus on 2 crop types, maize and wheat. But we also need to demonstrate the feasibility for other crops, and it needs to be open source and freely available to the community when the project ends. What are the requirements? So we need to build on rather than duplicate existing EU initiatives, projects and tools. So think here again, GeoGlam and all of you guys can help us quite a lot with that, to provide it with all the knowledge that is out there. We have to exploit the freely available time series of optical and radar data, merge them and use them in a very efficient and agile production. It needs to be optimized for cloud computing, of course, but we can't select one specific cloud, so it needs to be cloud agnostic. Of course, they need to be validated at global scale, but also at national scale, with accuracies of 80% cropland extent and 70% the crop type maps. All these requirements, of course, have been checked and double-checked now with the users. Again, we just ended our user requirements consolidation. In the coming weeks, we will have our user requirements review, where we will send out the document to our users again, and then we will discuss in detail and come to a consolidated report, which will be the basis for development, of course. So all these objectives, the goals, the requirements gave us this kind of project setup. We're not going to go into detail on this. But just to show that there are two phases in the project. So we just started it, don't forget. So we started in June, so we're definitely in phase one. Phase one is really on the development of the system, on user engagement, and phase two is to do the global demonstration of the products. Going from phase one to phase two is when we have demonstrated the system. The system demonstration is going to be on DIAS, and we need to have cover 4 to 5 countries over 3 continents and at least 1.5 million square kilometers. So that's the idea. So that's also part of that user and user engagement to select which countries will be the focus of the first year. Of course, that will be depending on in situ data that is available, but also on different agroecological zones. See how we can scale different stuff. So those are all questions that we're asking now. So what are the different tasks? And I'll just focus on the task that we're working on at the moment. So the first task, which is almost finalized, it's the user engagement, user requirement consolidation. User engagement is not finalized. It will go on for the 2 years of the project. So it's the requirement consolidation, but also looking at which countries, checking who has what kind of in situ data, who is willing to share in situ data. We have a number of support letters of people that are willing to share data, and we're following that up. I'll come back to that later. So we have 3 main champion users, but a much larger user network, but I only listed here the 3 main champion users. So that's GeoGlam, FAO, the Use department, also the Land and Water department, and then AIMS, of course. Throughout 2 years, we will be extending that user network, of course, and the main focus really is on in situ data collection at the moment, reference data collection, and then also the curation of that data sets. Task 2, it's system design and development. So we will have 3 main modules. One is the reference data module. This is where all the in situ data that we can gather, collect, and share will be stored. The idea is to have it open to the public. People will be able to upload their own in situ data, and they will have the option to put it in private or put it in public. If it's public, it's shareable with everybody. So that will be a huge task and already a huge result at the end of WorldCereal. If we have like this global database of in situ data samples of agriculture. And then of course you have the processing module where all the algorithms and the classification algorithms will be, and then the visualization and dissemination module to show the products. So it needs to be agile, it needs to be flexible, it needs to be scalable, it needs to be fast. And so all these modules will be closely linked with each other. What I forgot to mention is user requirements and consolidation there. Inbal is our lead scientist on that. Here CS is leading, the CS France is leading the development on the implementation. Then, of course, you have the benchmarking part where all the different algorithms will be tested. At the end of the day, this will result in ATBDs of the different algorithms. So we're now working together with eLeaf, but also the University of Valencia, Belen, on benchmarking different algorithms for the classification, depending on what kind of in situ data is available, how much in situ data is available, etc. Finally, what are the GeoGlam interactions? And that's clear. There is for sure a use case that is going to be developed within WorldCereal, so a dedicated use case to how this product can be used in GeoGlam. crop monitor is high on the agenda, of course, for that one. As for the world cover that I mentioned earlier or later, I don't know what the approach of Yin is here. Community engagement, of course. I think we have the consortium partners already have an extended network, but through this community we can only enlarge this network, of course. So that's great if everybody could support and help us with that. Support in country selection is also key, depending on which in situ data is available where are the important countries, who has interest, who has already has some maps here and there. So that could be all part of that selection procedure. And then of course validation. If you have other independent data sets, that would be great as well. That could be used for validation. But also for testing the system. Once the system is up there, testing the algorithms, comparing the algorithms with your own algorithms. We're all open to discuss that. And then, so as an example, the figures here, the top figure is where we already have in situ data. And that is based on, for instance, Europe LPIS data that we already have gathered, but also in situ data sets coming from different projects. In situ data coming from JCAM sites, for instance. So the dark green is where we have full globe or full country cover. The light greens is where we don't have full country cover. The bottom figure is data sets that we know that are around, but we haven't have access yet to, and that are not yet curated. The top ones, the data sets are curated. Bottom ones are not yet curated, but also takes a lot of time and effort. So depending on country selection now in the first stage of the project, we will need to see where we will put our focus on. And then finally, we have the user requirements review coming up. So we will send out invitation in this network, and I hope you will be able to join and discuss with us. Thank you very much. And I hope to talk to you soon in person.